Testing 1, 2. Let's make sure we are all right. All right, we are live. So, good morning, everyone. This one, we'll just go into it. So, this one is about a visit I just had to my doctor's office for my annual physical. I'm 41, so that is always a good time. But the lesson I am about to share with you is kind of something that you could literally take with you and always remind yourself to bring you back to that present moment, to bring you back to some peace, but also to remind yourself of what it is that you want for your life. So, this one is titled Always Changing. Hi, guys. My name is Donnie Rouse, and you are listening to the podcast One Life. Always changing. As human beings, we try to look forward into the future to figure out, what will things be like? But if you know yourself as well as I do, you'll probably realize that you're not very good at fortune telling. You're not very good at reading the future. So while it's very important to have a goal and a destination in mind, it is very difficult to try to predict what the pitfalls, what the stumbles are going to be along the way, because that is just part of life. What if you could just trust in the moment? Trust that everything was going to turn out the way it needed to turn out. Because the truth is that you're never going to reach that final destination. That final destination is always a moving target because you are a moving target. You are always changing. I went to the doctor today for my annual physical, and we were talking. He had this questionnaire. They were asking questions about sleeplessness at night and all this stuff, probably because of everything that had gone on during COVID, that people were feeling stressed. I know, for example, I noticed this year I was doing a lot more grinding at night, so I wear a mouth guard now. So I'm assuming it had something to do with that. And some of the questions they were probing for people who were feeling depressed. And some of the questions, I guess, triggered that. So he asked me, he's like, well, are you depressed? I'm like, no, I wouldn't describe myself as depressed. Do you ever have suicidal thoughts? I was like, never. And going through all these questions, he said, all right, well, what's up? And I explained to him how, there was this desire, I wanted to, that things felt unsettled. That, there's decisions I need to make for my career, for all of these areas of my life. And it was one of the best pieces of advice that my doctor had ever given me. He said, well, first of all, he said, do you practice mindfulness? I was like, yes, I meditate every day, twice a day for about half an hour per time. And I noticed that I'm starting to slow down a little bit better. But he's like, well, try mindfulness. He's like, just looking out and just being mindful of everything that's around you. I was like, well, I've done that. I think I can make a more conscious effort to do it more. And then he said, listen, things are always changing. You are always changing. And that feeling that you have of feeling unsettled is never going to go away because you're always changing. And it was actually one of the most profound things that my doctor has ever said to me. Because when I thought about that, I've heard this before, but in this moment, it just seemed to stick a little bit better. And then he spoke of, he was a swimmer. And he was telling me the story how, when he would swim, that sometimes it would feel very arduous and it would take a lot of effort because in swimming, the more pressure you put down in the water, the more it pushes back at you. Said differently, the more you resist, the more it persists. So trying to fight, or trying to know whatever it is that's going to happen in your life and trying to plan only will, in the resistance cause, is only going to lead to more resistance. We started talking about travel. I was sharing him my plans for the winter. And he was going on about his plans. He'd actually just traveled to France for a photography event. And it was his first time outside of the country. So he went on to tell me, well, yeah, I'm a X-year-old single guy I love photography. He's like, so, this just made sense. He's like, of course I have a desire to travel. I'd love to go see Italy and all these places. But with the photography, it really captivated me. It made me want to take this trip to France. And now he had just gotten an ankle replaced. He said, now I really want to, now I'm looking at going to Kenya. He's like, well, see, I haven't booked it yet. I'm like, go do it. I was like, I can see how excited you are just telling me about it. So go book it. And he was kind of giving that same advice, mirroring it right back at me. And the reason I bring this up is because, all of our decisions have a consequence, right? Everything we do every act there's an effect to it. And you can drive yourself crazy trying to figure out, well, if I do this, what is that going to mean for my life? But there's no way you could possibly know. Again, because you're horrible at predicting the future. And sometimes the logical thing to do is not the right answer. And sometimes the right answer is not the logical thing to do. Right? It doesn't always have to make sense. If you feel it inside, you know that a decision is right for you and right for your life path. Likely, it may not fall within the culture norm, and that's okay because it's your life. So I threw several things at you. What were the 3 lessons that you got out of this episode thus far? The first was just practicing mindfulness. Being where you are and realizing that the more you resist something, the more it's going to persist. The second thing is that you realize you're always changing. Of course, you're always going to feel some dis-ease with life because you're always changing, right? You're not the same person you were yesterday, and you're not going to be the same person you were 2 days ago. Thirdly, do the thing that is calling you. Don't put it off. Like my physician, who is now, not sure how old he is, but I know his mode of transportation or his ability to move around is going to be a little limited. At least he just had the operation on his ankle. Who knows whether or not he'll be able to really move around with that ankle afterward. Maybe some light stuff, but I'm thinking like hiking Mount Kilimanjaro is not going to be on his list. So thinking about what is it that you want to experience in life and blocking out the time to make that a priority. Experiences are the things that you're going to carry with you for the rest of your life. When you think of, the new iPhone you got, the computer you got, the new car, I mean, how long does that feeling last, when that excitement feeling when you first get it? More likely than not, it fades pretty quick. Unless and not for everybody. Maybe someone has a car and they take it out every week, and when they have that weekly drive, that is their happy place. But I think most people, it loses its effect after a while. It starts to wane. But experiences that live with you forever. You take them with you everywhere you go. And it gives you a different perspective on the world, on life, and just how other people live in cultures. So realize that there's more than what you're living day to day. Also to make you feel blessed that the fact that you're not living in a third world country. So in closing, think about what it is that you really, really want for your life. And also be okay with where you are right now, because where you are now is not going to be where you are tomorrow or 5 years out in the future. You are constantly changing. Your decisions are going to dictate if you're changing for the better or for the worse, not to scare you there. But I want you to make decisions that are aligned with who you are at your core values. And lastly, don't put off. I use travel a lot. Travel is a big one for me because travel's opened my eyes. And I know when I'm staying in one place, I want to move. Like I want to be out in the world just because I've had that experience. And I know that it's something that brings me immense joy and passion. Maybe it's painting. Maybe it's something like you want to just even stay in the country and you want to go hike in the Colorado Rockies. I don't know. Whatever it is, plan the time, take the time to do it. The end of the year, beginning into the next year, I'm going to be doing I call it dream casting course. So I'm going to do a seminar where we're going to literally plot out your entire year. We're going to say, okay, well, all right, yes, there's the goals, like, the job and all this stuff. But what are the things we want to experience that are going to make us feel alive, that are going to bring joy, that when we look back on that year, we're going to be like, oh my God, that was the single most best year of my entire life. That's going to be hard to top, but of course we will. That is what the experience is going to be. So I will start dropping details fairly soon about that. And it's going to go through the month of January. And it's going to be, again, about planning your year, about the experiences you want to have. And hopefully getting you to feel them make it so that it's so real that you have no other option but to follow through. And there's ways to do that as well. So that is all I've got for you guys today. Again, this is not like the traditional podcast. I'm not going to leave you with any questions other than stop resisting. Take a moment just to be present. Just to appreciate the moment. Realize that where you are today is totally fine. And where you are going tomorrow is totally up to you. You have to make the choice. If you like this podcast, please consider subscribing, or if you want to ask a question, make a comment, you can do so by visiting www.donnierouse.com. Again, www.donnierouse.com. And thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this story inspired you to, at the very least, maybe to go for a walk and just kind of do a mindful walk. Maybe look at booking that trip that you wanted to do. Whatever it may be, this is your one life. Make sure that it is a work of art that you are happy with. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. God bless. Remember, you get one life. Live it.